Hello everyone. Welcome to the Digitech Dialogue. I am Arpit Gupta. The Digitech Dialogue series is an initiative of ET Government, The Economic Times. This is an interactive show with bureaucrats on different milestones in their digital transformation journey. In this series, senior government officials give an insight of digital innovations and use of new technologies by their department or ministry. Today, on behalf of ET Government, I welcome Mr. Manoj Kumar Mishra, Secretary, Department of Electronics and IT, Science and Technology, Government of Odisha, and he's also the OSD2 Chief Minister of Odisha. Thank you for joining us for this Digitech Dialogue, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you so much, Arpit, for having me. Look forward to talking to you.
Mr. Mishra, if I ask you what are three major achievements of Electronics and IT Department in the recent times, can you please throw light on the e-governance initiatives undertaken by the Government of Odisha?
That's a difficult question. I would like to believe we have done 30 very good things instead of 3, but I will, for the benefit of our audience, I will highlight only 3 aspects. The first big thing that we handled in the last year and a half from IT department was when the COVID-1 happened in India and the unfortunate incident where all migrant laborers had to come back to their homes. I and you remember how distressful it was when we looked at people walking 800 kilometers, cycling 1200 kilometers to go back to their homes. Odisha is the 3rd largest exporter of labor class to the country, and naturally the viciousness of that pandemic was felt by us even more because of our manpower, our citizens staying outside. And they needed to come back home. And at that time, you remember that with Government of India, we ran a lot of Shramik specials. Now that was a problem of gigantic nature for us. Now people will have to come back by train. Trains are not there in every village, so stations are limited. They will have to get down. They'll have to be taken to some place and kept in isolation for 14 days before they could be released to their homes. So that was the nature of the job that we had, and we were receiving some 10 to 12 trains every day. So 1,500 people to 2,000 people per train. So you can imagine 20,000 people coming into the state at a time when nobody understood COVID well, and we knew that people can't come in contact with each other. We devised something by which people will be able to register themselves before they came. So, and we put some fuzzy logic AI behind it. We tried to map with other databases that we had, and we could come out with the probable possible districts to which they will travel. Based on that, we empowered our district collectors who were handling those railway stations at that time. We used to mobilize buses per district, and the base of that decision was what we could do in terms of using the tech. So that's a very gratifying thing that we did, and we did very well. In fact, during that time, almost 10 lakh people came back to the state, and our figures of transmission stayed low during that time, which augurs very well for the success that we had in terms of planning and use of IT for such a product. If you are talking about something else, then I personally am very proud of being able to push the BharatNet Phase 2 project in the state, by which we intend to connect each and every GP, Gram Panchayat of our state, with broadband optical fiber internet. We have done Phase 1 in 16 districts. Another 13 plus 1, 14 districts are being covered in Phase 2. We have almost completed about 92% of the work, and I think in the next 2 months we should be able to commission that. Now that will change the digital divide that we know of in the rural areas. We should be able to provide classrooms in Gram Panchayat's office where kids who do not have access to mobile devices can go and study. Now, how much toll COVID has taken on all of us, including kids, we know. So therefore, making available the internet at Gram Panchayat level will be a game changer for all of us. I think I told 2 things. The third thing, which is quite interesting, is that we are now looking at rediscovering the IT space, and the IT space is no longer how it used to be. You would not find another TCS, another Infosys coming in and becoming that big a company in 2020s and 2030s. That time is gone. Today is the time for startups. people who are disruptive by nature and they solve problems. You have a problem, they'll get solved. I and you saw how Zomato IPO became a super success. Now these are the kids who are going to change the future of IT space. So what we are doing is we are doing center of excellences in emerging tech with various institutions. We are very lucky that in Bhubaneswar we have almost all premier educational institutes, starting from IIT, IISER, you name it, we have it. So what we are doing is we are doing a center of excellence in each of those institutes where we are trying to teach our students much before they even pass out with all this emerging tech. So that I think is going to change the landscape in the future. I think these are three things at the top of my mind that I could recall.
Mr. Mishra, the Department of Electronics and IT, Government of Odisha is giving an impetus to the Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik's Vision 5T program. Mo Sarkar has been one of the leading examples of service delivery where the dignity aspect of service has been underlined. How has been the states priced with next generation technologies to improve public service delivery? Over to you.
It is in the 2019 when the present government came into being again. Honorable CM Sri Naveen Patnaik announced the 5T charter. If you see the essence of 5T charter, it is use of technology to reduce time to deliver the services to people in a manner in which it will be transformational, not only incremental. So while taking that cue from Honorable CM, each department, almost 44 departments and numerous directories under them, they went through a process of business process reengineering. So you know that you working in this space, you know that since last 15-20 years we have been talking about digital governance, e-governance and all of that. But we also know that the services that we have been providing before had not been end-to-end. So in some sense, some of the services application can be online. You have to go and do the physical payment. In some services, you actually have to go back to get the certificate from the Tahsildar. So, but if you see the total gamut, the entire process were not in many services were end-to-end. So this is what we tried to do. Almost 410 services were digitized from end-to-end, not partial. So the experience of service delivery is quicker and transformational. So that is what we took it from the cue that Honorable CM gave us. And as you stated, how do we know the effect of the digitization that we have done? Mo Sarkar is the kasauti against which we have tried to measure our delivery. So what we do is instead of waiting for people to put grievances, which is normally we do in various governments, we have gone the other way around. We chase citizens who have come to our building, taken our services. Starting from the lower government to highest, that is Honorable CM, he himself makes 10 calls a day to randomly people who have taken government services to find out how has the experience been. So you would not believe when you do such exercises in police stations, how much transformational change happens on behavior and how much it impacts positively to people. I think going forward, when we are talking about big scale changes, we are not talking about technology anymore. We are talking about result coming out of use of technology. So that is where the big pie lie going forward. I hope I have been able to answer your question.
Mr. Mishra, financial year 2020-2021 has been a transformational year for India's digital transformation. Please highlight the Odisha government's effort to digitally empower rural India to make it more resilient, competitive, and future ready. Over to you.
Arpit, digitization is not only making an app or doing the process online. In fact, digitization has three clear verticals. First vertical is the infrastructure. Do we have the infrastructure to roll out services across the state? I'm afraid none of the states can say with guarantee that they are able to reach out to each and every citizen through digital mode. So first thing that attracts our attention and must attract our attention is creation of infra. Within creation of infra, there are two kinds of infra that we are talking about. One is availability of internet to people. What we are doing, Odisha, is that the BharatNet phase 2, which is covering 13 of the 30 districts which had remained uncovered. We are rolling that out, and I'm very happy to share that we have almost completed 92% of the work. In another 2 months, I think we will complete. Each and every Gram Panchayat of Odisha will be covered by a broadband connectivity through optical fibers. So that's a huge thing we are doing on the ground, where the transformation in the rural India can happen. Without internet, no matter what we say, all digital governance lie within the boundaries of municipalities and cities. We would like to change that. Apart from the infrastructure bit that I talked about, the second one comes, which I answered in my earlier question, is that the services have to be end-to-end digital. If somebody wants a learner license, if he is asked to come to a RTO office to do it, then that is not digitization. In a learner license, you don't actually require to test the person's driving ability. You are just allowing the person to take the next step if he is knowledgeable about road rules, so that he will learn and then come back for a testing. So for that, you actually don't require that person to travel to the RTO office. You know how many RTO offices in a state people have? 1 or 2 per district. So if a district is 200 kilometers size, which many of the states have, so somebody has to travel 200 kilometers to come to the RTO office to take that questionnaire. Now, in that sense, how much money, time, and effort he is putting just to get a learner license. So this is what is the second vertical, that where we are changing the business process of the government. And by that, we are doing end-to-end. Now we have about almost 10,000 questions put in the system, by which anybody from anywhere will be able to take the test on the computer, and he or she need not be computer savvy in the villages. We have created something called as Mo Seva Kendras, which are the intermediaries available at the Gram Panchayat level. There they can take the test and go back in half an hour to their home, and their learner's license they'll be able to get. So process re-engineering along with infrastructure. And in infrastructure, we are not talking only about the availability of broadband, but also we need to think going ahead. Do people have devices to consume digital technology? Now we have a partial solution in terms of providing more Sabha Kendras at the village level. People will be able to utilize that. But going forward, do people really need a personal device in their own hands, and can government do something about it? That's a question that we need to answer in the coming years.
Right, sir. When you are talking about taking government services to the last mile, so here comes the role of connectivity. So what is the current status of connectivity in the state of Odisha, and what are the plans to improve it? What challenges do you see in achieving 100% digital transformation in Odisha?
It is a challenging situation at this point of time. In fact, before COVID, we always thought that it is desirable to have digital space with you, internet with you. But after COVID, we know that it has become essential. Whether it is children in the villages or whether it is children of ours, they all require internet, they all require a device so that they can continue their studies. So it has become that basic and that essential. In terms of availability of the infrastructure, telecom infrastructure, we are slightly above average, so to speak. So if I give some numbers, I will tell you that 5 districts we have where the mobile penetration is hardly 40% to the population. So 60% of the population in few districts of ours remain outside the mobile telephony. So you forget about internet, they don't even have mobile. Now, why is that? Because Odisha's terrain is like that. It is mountainous, rivers, and population also is largely in those areas tribal. So availability of internet in terms of providing economic sense doesn't really something that private telecom operators are looking at. And the government telecom service provider BSNL has not been doing very well of late. So this is where a big challenge that we are facing, that how do we increase tele density in our state in terms of mobile connectivity. We have been in touch with Government of India, and we are formulating a plan in which we are very hopeful that in the next 2 years we'll be able to cover all the shadow areas, so to speak, in the state and cover it with telecom.
Right, sir. So let me also understand how are you leveraging emerging technologies like AI, machine learning, big data, AR, VR, blockchain, IoT, and robotics? Is there any plans?
Oh yes. How we are looking at emerging tech is that there are two steps. One is a educational drive, another is a gallery approach. So what we are looking at is we do something in the government in the emerging tech, which will inspire people to take it up, because this is the space which is going to grow far beyond. When we see Netflix, we don't realize that artificial intelligence is put to us. So you watch one series or one movie, then based on your taste, Netflix is going to provide you another group of suggestions. So use of emerging tech is now everywhere, whether it is Amazon, whether it is while you shop, whatever you do, there is some amount of technology that is going in, which are emerging tech. But use of this emerging tech in governance sphere has been quite low till recently. But we anticipate and we recognize that the space is going to change very fast, and we are adopting it by involving our student community. So we have the large number of educational institutes that we have. We are housing center of excellences in each of them, so that people, before they pass out, they're adequately knowledgeable and hands-on in this technology. And once they're hands-on, you cannot suppress an idea whose time has come. So our kids are very able in terms of thinking and coming out with solutions. And if we enable them with the technology that is available on hand, then I think the future is very, very bright. If you are talking about examples, I'll give you just 2-3 examples for the benefit of the audience. We use blockchain to store the data for paddy procurement. So it is not necessary that we need to use this technology in some advanced field, so to speak. In every field that we are in government, use of this technology can solve some problems. So there was one problem that the data on paddy procurement, the sanctity was not maintained properly. So people could change it. If it is there in one warehouse or the other data center, it is amenable to change. So what we did, we deployed the architecture of blockchain. Once your blockchain architecture is deployed, that data sanctity is guaranteed. So whosoever has sold to us paddy today, his data will be available with us forever, and anybody and everybody will be able to check that. So we can use technology in every sphere you think about. We are now trying to do, we have a system called as a student management system. The acronym is SAMS, where students going to schools, to colleges, to ITIs or IITs, all are done on the system. The entire college admission in Odisha is online. Everything is online, end to end. Nobody buys a physical form to any college in Odisha. That data we are able to use now. We are coming out with some predictive theories as to in which areas, which the larger population of students will go in which stream. That will help the education department to plan expansion of their colleges, the kind of streams they want, or the kind of faculty they want. So these are very, very interesting things, and how we are deploying, I think we are covering all our bases for a very bright future in emerging tech for our students.
So, Mr. Before we wrap up the discussion, let me also take your views on the new ICT policy of government of Odisha, how it is promoting public-private partnership, and what are your views on the investment?
I'm not sure I am allowed to say the detail of the IT policy. The last policy has just expired. We have formulated our new policy, and it is waiting for the approval of the Honorable Cabinet. I can assure the audience here that the policy, when it comes up, you will see is the best in the country. It ticks all boxes, and it is out of the box. It is not only talking about incentivizing investment and bringing in companies to the state, but also it incentivizes people doing research, people wanting to study more, people wanting to do a center of excellence, people wanting to do a POC with the government. Everything that you can think about, we have been able to factor it, and a broad policy is very likely to be launched very soon. So the details I'll not be able to say, but you can be rest assured that it will be one of the best in the country.
Sir, let me also take your views on the sports. though it is not your department, but we feel that now Odisha is becoming the next big sport hub of the country. What is your take on this?
This is completely, I think, the brainchild and the vision of Honorable CM Sri Naveen Patnaik ji. He often says this. I'll quote unquote his what he says. He says, investment in the youth is an investment in future. So when we are talking about sports, is an investment in the youth, and that is an investment for the future. How he has come, he came forward in 2018 to sponsor the national hockey, both male and female teams, is now well known across the world. In fact, no government, state or center, anywhere in the world has ever sponsored commercially any sport. So that's what Honorable CM has done. And after 41 years, we got a medal, and we came so close to getting another medal in the women's category. That aside, I think what we are doing is that we have identified 9 sporting areas. And in those 9 sporting areas, we have formulated a structure. So the government will create the infrastructure. We will have a PPP partner who has the bandwidth in the sports. We can't manage sports. We are, even if I'm secretary sports or my colleague friend is secretary sports, he doesn't know that sport. He doesn't know what it takes for the children. We can't run it. We understand, we accept it. So what we want is, we want to bring in the best who can run the sports and house them here. So the 9 disciplines that we have, we are creating the physical infra from the government. We are making PPP partners, and we are pulling in resources from the private sector and running them professionally. So going forward, you will see that not only hockey, where we hosted the World Cup last time, and the first state, in fact, first place in the world, which is going to host the World Cup men's hockey back to back. So 2023, my invitation to you, Arpit, if you are around, come over and see a match in Odisha. We want similar strides in 8 other sports other than hockey, and large investment is going in. Rest all is in the God, and I hope Lord Jagannath blesses the state to take sports to the next level.
What is the way forward for Odisha with regards to technology? What is the future roadmap of e-governance and digital transformation in Odisha? Do you see digital Odisha in the making?
Oh yes, we are very positive. In fact, we are aggressively pursuing the digitization of services and processes. We firmly believe that physical rollout of services these days cannot be done efficiently. So if you remember, in fact, in one of your publications I had written a couple of months back, we rolled out something called as Kalia, that is an income augmentation scheme for farmers, and it came before the central government had its own scheme. But that scheme, from thought to actual having money in the hands of people, did not take more than 1.5 months, 6 weeks. How that could happen? That could happen because use of technology was rampant when we did that. Now, the next step in governance, in digital governance, is something known as creation of a social delivery protection platform. Now, that is called as SPDP. In that, what we need to do is, we need to map every citizen who takes a service from the government. And can we think of a time in which people, without having to apply for services which they are entitled to, can the government push services to them without they even applying? For example, somebody passes his 10th class. To go to the +2 colleges, he requires the caste certificate or the income certificate to avail various schemes. Then he will have to apply to the Tahsildar office, then go through the entire grind and then get those 2 certificates. And you know how difficult it is at the ground level. While we have made it now online, they don't have to come interact. So the possibility of corruption we have reduced. At the same time, the thought now is, why do they need to even apply? When somebody is passing 10th, why can't we push these 2 certificates into his DigiLocker? So that is where we are working on. Is a work which is very passionately we are pursuing in the government, and possibly in the next 6 to 8 months, you will be able to hear from Odisha that we have a platform in which instead of citizens chasing government for their services and their rightful requirements, the government will be able to seamlessly transmit the services to the people without even they having to apply. So that's where the next challenge and the next future that we are looking at in digital governance in Odisha.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. Thank you for talking to us, and you have candidly answered all our questions. And out of our discussion, what you said, I feel the future of e-governance is transitioning from data storage to technology-enabled services that touch the lives of millions of citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.